Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sathology Debunking Mythology. A human society devoid of any festivals is not a human society because a human society is built on festivals. And somewhere the misconception is there because of lack of information that where are the celebrations in the Vedic culture? Let me tell you, we have a celebration every day. Every day. And when somebody says that Hindus don't pray enough, I think you are looking at the Indians in USA. You're not looking at Indians in India. So we have prayers 24 by 7, Kirtanya Sadahari, and we have festivals every day. So in the spiritual world or in heavenly kingdom, it is said every song, every word is a music, is a song, every walk is a dance, and every gesture of the hand is a mudra or a form of a dance. So
Very
it's
correct.
a culture of festivals. So without delay, we have the best person to share more information on that is Professor ADN Bajpayee. Let us welcome
Thank you.
him.
Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you so much, Professor, for joining and taking out your valuable time. Now, before we begin, see, the India is a land of festivals, but very few people know about it, especially in the Western world. Where is the fault lies in that Indians have not been able to communicate that message.
Should I respond
Yes,
directly? Uh,
you
Okay,
can correct
Aditya,
me,
thank you.
please.
Thank you very much for uh, connecting me with so many good friends all over the world. And actually, fault doesn't lie in ourselves. You see, we are celebrating festivals not only for the sake of festivals, but also to sublime ourselves. There is no advertisement. We don't want to earn money out of it. No profit motive is there. Some, you see, complexities are to be normalized. Society is to be connected. Prasad Chatushtai should be obtained. And through celebrating festivals, we are connecting our history, our culture, our nature, our gods and goddesses, nature gods and goddesses, our river systems, our mountains, our animals, whom we are connected with. So, had there been any commercial motive behind celebrating festivals, we could have propagandized our festivals outside. But even then, some festivals like Deepavali, which we celebrated just about 10 days ago, that is being celebrated all over the world. Similarly, Holi is being celebrated all over the world. Similarly, Basant Panchami or Saraswati Pujan is also being worshipped all over the world. There are some, you see, Hindus living in a good number in some of the countries. They are celebrating almost all festivals which are being celebrated here in India. But there are few which are not so common, not so popular. They are not being, you see, celebrated. But for today, today is an auspicious day, Aditya. I don't know, you have selected this day by default or by your design. Today is known as Devothani Ekadashi. It is Kartik Mass ki Ekadashi. It's 11th day of the Kartik Mass, which is one of the most auspicious month of our Hindu calendar. It's not through Gregorian calendar. Today, the Devtas are, you see, awakened. Devs are awakened. So, awakening of Deva, and the stories say that Vishnu, just about 4 months ago, killed Shankasura. And Shankasura was a great, you see, demon, you know. He had to see fight a lot to kill, you see, that demon. He was almost tired. Then he slept on Savan month, first day of the Savan month. He slept, and he said he awakened today only, that is Devothani Ekadashi. So today is the day when most of the auspicious things begin. It is the story behind. But the nature gives full support to it because our all festivals are full of support. You see, the oxygen level you see increases during this particular period after Deepavali. The Shukla Paksh, that is the lunar, you see, first part of the lunar fortnight. So that when oxygen level increases, that increases sugar contents. So entire glucose contents, the nature also increases in all you see flora fauna. So sugar cane, you see, gets the full ripe, and similarly, this amla also gets you see full proteinous you see things inside. Most of the fruits gets the full proteinous you see contents after you see having get you see fructified. They start you see being plucking and cutting. The sugar cane you see starts cutting from today itself. So today is the day is quite auspicious. So Aditya, I congratulate you. I give you good wishes for today as well as all the friends who are you see listening me on this occasion.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Adit.
much. Yeah, I'm also observing Ekadashi today. Today is here. Today is
Yeah,
Ekadashi here. Now, so in a month, 2 days, Ekadashi comes, waxing moon and waning moon.
yeah,
And that is also a big festival in the Vedic culture, Hindu culture. Now, apart from that, there are appearances of Vaman, Narsingha, Hari, Krishna, Ram, and then appearances of Devis, Devata. So probably if I was calculating, the in a day, in any given 365-day period, we have two or three festivals a day, or four, depending on where you are and what you are. And based on the moon sighting, there is a festival every minute on the planet, according to Vedic calculation. So the the abundance of these festivals now in the American society, three or four festivals. One is Christmas, one is Thanksgiving, which is again a recent one, and one which is imported from Greece, which is Easter. So very few festivals. So there is a joke there. If you're following in the yoga community, since many yoga instructors are there, if you actually follow the Vedic calendar, then you have no time left for earning money. So how is that? How do you explain that?
no, actually, you see, Aditya, festivals are not you see outside the box for you see, for Indians. They are totally you see imbibed in our day-to-day culture as such. You see, every moment we celebrate and perform other you see routine activities also, and they are you see part of you see economy as well. As I told you that our culture is to connect society. Society is inclusive economy, politics, environment, everything. So festivals are integrated part of its total activities. It is not outside the activities. For say Americans, the observation of or celebration of this 25th December, Bada Din, maybe one festival for them. Easter may be festival for them. Thanksgiving may be festival for them. They can see holidays. But here it's not a holiday type of anything as such. We are celebrating at the same time we are performing other mundane activities, worldly activities as well. That's why you see, as you told you that the gods, goddesses, nature gods, astronomy, everything are you see connected with each other. They are totally integrated. They are you see different parts of the whole sum. That is the beauty of this Indian culture. So festivals are nothing like that of a different from the system as such. They are totally, you see, imbibed in the system. That's a major difference.
Very well answered. You know, people when they're happy, they buy more. So,
Yes,
in generally, if you go to a mall or anywhere else, the
yes,
music will be very particularly
yes,
set for that mall, so that people spend more money over there. And
yes.
when it comes to festivals in the Vedic culture, isn't a, isn't every festival a chance for economic upliftment also?
Yes, Aditya, very good question. I think this is a good answer to all those persons in the West who say that Indian culture or Indian society is not that much economic oriented. But the economics for India is entirely different. Economics for the world is consumption and consumption. And here, economics means first distribution, then consumption, and distribution, consumption led, gives, impetus to the production. That is the chain. Chain is slightly different in India. So, festivals also believe in equitable distribution of income. All festivals are purely, besides their, spiritual and societal as well as historical, contents, they are, economic orientation also. I'll give one example. You see, as I told you just a few days ago, about 11 days ago, we celebrated Deepavali. Deepavali is virtually is the festival of Vaishya. Vaishya means a commercial community. We are having Varnashram Vyavastha also. Through Varna also we have tried to see distributed this festival to some extent. Nowadays that doesn't exist. As see Saraswati Pujan or Basant Panchami is being celebrated for the Brahmins. Then you see Durgashtami, Shakti Pujan, Kshatriyas. And Lakshmi Pujan, that is Deepavali, is for Vaishya. Deepavali is totally commercialized, is totally economic, totally oriented towards celebrating all money and money. So in Deepavali we worship Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. But you see, wealth, if you are earning with exploiting others, that is not accepted in India. That's why we call it Ganesh Lakshmi. Ganesh gives you that wisdom that you should earn money with all wisdom. And then we like Shubha Labh, that auspicious profit. Profit should not be, airitious. It should not be unauspicious. It should be auspicious profit that is due to the producer. So if you just take the example of Deepavali, Deepavali is not merely arranging the lamps and putting it outside. It is totally a festival devoted to the distribution of income. You see, as you told you that during festival we go to buy many things. So the earthen lamps. So the persons who are producing these earthen lamps, they will get due share. The cotton, the oil producers, and then you see the Ganesh Lakshmi, make us. From then, you see entire, festivals related to purchase of all, groceries, all, goods, including car, refrigerator, into goes to diamonds and the gold and like that. So the persons who are busy in doing the business of earthen pots to the diamond sellers, they all, the income is getting distributed amongst all the persons. So just to get the equitable society, on the basis of equitable distribution, these festivals have also a very important role to play.
You
When-
mentioned Diwali.
Yeah,
One of the biggest festivals is celebrated in the US and loved by all Americans is Holi. And
yeah.
and one of the places in Utah organized by the ISKCON, on an average 300,000 to 400,000 people come,
Oh,
mostly
wonderful,
Americans,
wonderful.
95% Americans, because and it has become a huge craze. There are festival of colors in virtually every city now. Even in San Diego, we had 30,000 people participate annually in Festival of Colors. So what do you say Festival of Colors has?
Actually, you see, I'll give you the reason why Holi is so prominent and so thrilling, and especially for ISKCON people. ISKCON is totally attached to the Krishna consciousness, and Krishna is the god of love. And Krishna and Radhika at the Barsana, the place of Radhika, this Holika is being celebrated in a big way, in a beautiful manner. I say, it is simply, it doesn't believe in any caste, creed, color, or anything like that. It throws the colors from one person to the other. So many complexities just live in our body system, and throughout 364 days we keep in our bodies. On one day we want to vomit it out, we want to express it out as such. So Holika gives you that opportunity for the individual to express their emotions. It's not only the festival of color, it's festival of love. And love is the basic instinct which exists in every part of the nature. men, women, or all persons. So this is the climax of Basant. Holika is the zenith of Basanta. Basanta gives a full blossom, isn't it? And then also, as I told you earlier, our festivals have got lot of spiritual contents also. It is not mainly the celebration. As I told you on Deepavali. In Deepavali, Ram is returning to Ayodhya after killing demon Ravana. An entire Ayodhya is celebrating the arrival of the Rama. Entire land of Ayodhya is full of lights as such. So that the return of Ayodhya, return of Rama to Ayodhya, that too after 14 years exile. You can imagine the plight of Bharat, who was counting each moment to see his beloved brother. All persons of Ayodhya, they were just waiting with all full of tears for Ayodhya. When they came, so that joy is being celebrated in the terms of light as well. Similarly, Holika, the Holika festival is not merely the celebration of colors as such. You know that Hiranyakashyap, again we'll have to connect our issue with the Satyuga. This Deepavali will have to connect with the story of Treta, and it has some connection with the Dwapar also. It has some connection with the Satyuga also. I'll just, if you give me time, I'll explain that thing also. In Holika, we all know that there is a demon king, Hiranyakashyap. Prahlad was always a devotee of God. He was born, and he wanted to kill him. By killing, he wanted to take the help of his sister Holika, and she was blessed with an attire. And after taking attire, suppose she puts herself in fire, she won't be burned. So she took Prahlada in her lap and sat in the fire. But what happened with the mercy of God? She got burnt and Prahlad again came smiling. That is how our value system our value system says that asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityur ma amritogamaya. Every festival tries to convey this message, and that message must be received by all the festivals, all the celebrators of the festivals. So there also a victory of light over darkness, victory of immortality over mortality, and victory of truth over the falsehood, all illusion. That is the message of festivals.
Great,
And
great point.
this story must be attached and must be told uh, during all discourses on these festivals.
Taking you slightly to a different topic connected to festivals.
Yeah,
Uh, so, there was a long, so we have seen, in the case of India as well, India was a very prosperous country 300 years back, 26% of the world trade, as per Angus Madison, which
yeah,
is a European British
yeah.
economist.
1500
Now,
about.
yes,
Yeah,
and in the during the British rule, India became very poor, and also the Islamic attacks on India. India became very poor, and the lands which were taken in control in 1947 due to British, 1919 again by the British, they divided India, and 1948 also British divided India, where Burma became an independent country. Now all those countries are poor, and there was a huge mispropaganda by the some of the leftists and communists that Hindu rate of growth is to be blamed. Now, that is being debunked since 1991. When the Hindus started putting their brains in the economy, today India is the third largest economy as per purchasing power parity calculation of economic model. And as per nominal also is fifth or sixth, depending on the fluctuations in economy. And slightly inching towards fourth in the nominal GDP, which is incorrect. I don't know, you are the economist, so you can correct me there. So don't you think that was a myth being spread, debunking that theory of Hindu rate of growth?
no, actually, I know Professor Raj Krishna, who propounded this Hindu rate of growth. Number one, there cannot be a Hindu or Muslim or Sikh or Isai rate of growth as such. One point. Hindu growth rate says that the GDP should grows by 3.3% per annum, and per capita income grows by 1.1%. As the Indian economy is a slow moving economy. He was just commenting on the slow moving economy as such. What happened to world economic order during this corona, COVID-19? I think the world, entire world is got this Hindu rate of growth, or went as below the Hindu rate of growth as such, isn't it? So
Yes.
number one, India is growing. There is no doubt about. There has been lot of conspiracies by the Britishers. Actually, Mughals also did lot of harm to Indian economy as such. But there was not much harm as because they was ruling and as well as owning, protecting also our economy and society. There was no lot of division of country into different parts because Britishers were totally outsiders and they wanted to divide geographically, creating by new countries, and also destroying not only our traditional arts, crafts, industries, and also language, so many things by way just to protect and impose their own products on us. Say the textiles. We all knew that Dhaka ki malmal, the Dhaka ki malmal was so fine that even in a small piece of any place, entire elephant could have been covered. That much cloth we could have got into. That because they wanted to promote Manchester. That's why not only they destroyed, they ruined our textile industry. They cut the fingers of those particular craftsmen who were just weaving those malmal. So they did a lot of harm as such. So medicine, very rightly told that about 300 years, not 300, about 500 years. It is about 1500. When in 1498 Vasco da Gama came to India, and the data which we are having, comparative data, there is 1500. So India had about more than 25% of world's GDP. Number one, total GDP of the world was very low, and Indian contribution was very high. Nowadays, the total GDP of the world has grown outside order. Secondly, the GDP, the methodology of calculation of GDPs has also undergone so many changes like that. It is not merely the products and products; the services also being included in the computation of GDP. So our product is very high, but so far as services are concerned, we are no, we are not that much I say good in comparison to the world over. That's why number one, there is a British conspiracy, we can call it conspiracy of the West as a whole. Secondly, so many competitors have come up in the world. They are also growing faster. But what is happening? We'll have to see the sustainability of growth also. When Raj Krishna says Hindu growth rate, but Hindu culture is sustainable, na? If growth is sustainable, we are having slow but steady growth with less of fluctuation, but more of distributive justice. That should be accepted. It is not that you are having high growth with lot of fluctuations, cyclical fluctuations. One side boom, another side you see down doom, then another recovery, like the business cycle. That's not good as such. So, my reaction to it that India is having good agricultural land. We are the country of villages. We are having self sufficiency for food products is concerned. We are having pleasant persons. Bhutan has come out with this happiness index as such. So I think India is also on the top so far as happiness index is concerned. So these parameters shall have to be taken into account.
Now, on happiness, some Americans can contest there. They consider America as actually every land of the country is happy, and I can see the only time happiness goes away when people rely more on fake news media and social media. Nowadays social media is the biggest cause of depression in many people. Now, coming back to very interesting thing you said and in your conversation, that the Western way of calculating GDP is actually very manipulative in their favor. And to some extent, and you pointed out very clearly, the cost of services. Now, in Western countries, services are a major part of the expenditure. If the services are not there, I can build a house in just $100,000. But if I add the services, the same material, the labor cost of that house goes 5 times. So same 100,000 material house will cost me $600,000 or more. And if I extrapolate it on everything, including fighter jets we produce here in USA, and including the other aspects that we produce here, and the imaginative cost or the cost of the skill artistry is not even taken into account, which in India you can find plenty, like in a small cottage industry which Americans pay $100 for it. In India we produce it for just 100 rupees or
Yeah,
150 rupees.
correct, correct.
So I think, is there a way to reverse this model and put out a new GDP theory from the point of view of India, or the Vedic culture?
Actually, I think there should be some work. I think it's urgently needed as such because I was working on this the computation of income as such. So, number one, you see in India, we are having 50% population of say, women. They are also working at home, and that is at home work is not being you see reckoned with in monetary term as such. Suppose we estimate the labor cost of say female workers at home who are working as a wives. I think our GDP will increase automatically. Secondly, some you see weightage, some weights shall have to be see, differentiated. Second point is third, we see we have taken population as the denominator for computing see comparable data as such. Why not area? If population per capita income is being compared, and why not area should be taken as one of the denominator? America having so large you see, area, Russia is having very large area, China has got very large area and producing more. And India, in comparison, does not have you see that much area. So, if suppose per square kilometer GDP is also computed, some you see better results can be see obtained. To me, I think some work is to be needed. But I don't want to go to the Vedic culture as well, because Vedic culture is basically you see agriculture based culture. So agriculture or you see small and cottage industries or some you see village industries like that. There some trade-offs shall have to be see calculated afresh. Trade-off means the prices of agriculture products vis-a-vis prices of industrial product vis-a-vis prices of the services products. Similarly, the prices of village industries or say craftsmanship industry or arts and culture vis-a-vis of technology inputs or vis-a-vis or goods coming from outside. There should be some ratio shall have to be fixed. Either should be 1 is to 10 or 1 is to 20. Anything you can fix, but there cannot be anything left to the market as such. The agricultural products are being sold at a very low price, whereas industrial products at a high price, and technology products, electronic commodities are being priced is very high. And even the dumping projects coming from China and many other countries, they're also being sold at very high prices. So these things shall have to be taken into account so that a better and realistic estimate of GDP, if divided by population per capita GDP, comes, that will be more employment oriented, more justice oriented, more sustainable. As a
Great
student
point.
economics, I can give you. Yeah.
Only you can come up with such detail. I think I learned a lot in that one answer, few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Now,
Aditya.
coming back to the festivals economy festival. So now Thanksgiving is going on. It's a huge shopping festival in USA, and started with a presidential pardon of a turkey, and and also vegan turkey festivals are being organized. So a lot of yoga communities here, they're all vegetarians, all vegans. And then there is a so this is a growing industry now in USA. To be a vegan or a vegetarian is a symbol of pride. It's an upper class culture. So when you are from the rich and famous of USA, you are vegan. And when you're the rich and famous of India, it's a reverse right now. And it's totally reverse. And I don't want to go there. It's a different conversation afterwards. Now, the cost of food has gone up, but the prices for Americans are low, have remained constant. There's no inflation in food prices in the US, but the cost of production of food has gone up. And because the agricultural equipments are more expensive and other things, and there is a slight you know the depression value increases every year because of the stress caused due to the work and other things. The depression cost is higher, so medical costs are also higher in the overall productivity of this thing. How can Vedic festivals like today's Ekadashi, I'm observing, you already observed, I'm observing, how does that help of the concept of fasting in the economic revival? You can answer that. That's what I can question you in that.
Uh, Aditya, it's very correct. See. Just to responding to your earlier part of the statement, see, Americans may have a choice to have a substitution between vegetarian and non-vegetarian as such, or any non-vegetarian have got choices to become vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. But the persons in India, most of the people who are vegetarian and vegetarian, they don't have any substitution for see, non-vegetarian as such. They are see, vegetarian enjoying vegetarian. So fasting is concerned, I'll give you one example. So when Lal Bahadur Shastri was our prime minister, and there were a lot of see, food problem, he used this fasting as an instrument to solve the problem with food. They said if one person is fast on once a week as such, once a day, once a week, then you see so many persons can be fed in our India, and that was symbolic. And evening fasting on Monday, that was initiated by Lal Bahadur Shastri. Fasting has got many advantages. Number one, fasting in Jaina Dharma is intermittent to see fasting. Intermittent fasting means twice a fortnight. Every 8th and 15th day should be on fasting. If you are fasting, you are on one hand, you are saving, you see, a lot of resources to be reused in your family or to be distributed for, you see, in the society or in family or other thing. You are saving resources. Another impact, Aditya, is on your health itself. The medical scientists, the allopathic medical scientists, they don't recommend fasting as such. But here, our Vedic culture or Jain culture, even Bauddha culture, even Sikh dharma, all you see dharmas related to Sanatan dharma or Vedic dharma as such. They believe in fasting. If you are going fasting, that gives you lot of energy that awakens, arouses your you see, inner power. Your latent power becomes, you see, your latent power gets, you see, concretized. That converts into kinetic, you see, energy as such when you are fasting. So, as you told this, there are so many see, yoga experts are listening to my discourse. They'll be agreeing on this. In yoga also, fasting is one of the integral component of yoga. When you are, you see, doing yogic exercises, your tummy should be empty, your stomach should not be full, especially of that food stuffs. Less you eat, better you will be the yoga performer, and better you will be achiever so far as results of yoga is concerned. As a matter of instrument, fasting is good, but at the same time, so many persons who are hungry living in the world over, they are just funding for receive food as such. Their foods should be properly supplied to the world. About one third population of the world is suffering from hunger. So, if one particular section is having fasting. So that you see left out resources must be siphoned towards those who are who want to have resources. If this particular cycle is being maintained, that will be creating, you see, better society.
Many rich Americans and very famous Americans are regularly getting attracted to Indian festivals. I will tell you one example, and I have many friends who nod their heads since they're watching it live. And like the festivals of Diwali has become a craze in Hollywood. I can tell you for sure. Some of them are joined from Malibu. They can tell me 100 times. Wife of a very famous yoga studio owner is also listening to us, and she can vouch for me. And
Mm.
the festivals from India are actually the source of joy for the heart. And other festivals, they are socially source of joy. Like for example, the lights, the Thanksgiving, the lights are up in the many houses in America, and it's a very pleasant sight. But the heart is missing, because sometimes what happens is there's a competition for who has lit their home better than the others. But the essential, you also covered in the earlier point that you said, giving makes us happier. It's a universal human phenomenon. It has nothing to do with any culture, religion, anything. Giving makes our heart happier. Now, how is the Vedic culture based on giving? I can tell everyone that on my birthdays, I come from a Hindu family from Maharashtra. We give charity on our birthdays. On important occasions, we give. We don't take. The gifting, accepting gift, and people getting depressed they didn't get any gift. It's not the essence of any festival. What do you have to comment on that?
Actually, Aditya, in Vedic culture, there are only, you see, three objectives of dhana, the wealth. One is dana, another is upabhoga, third is vinash. First is donating or sharing, dana. Second is consumption, and third is ruin or see destruction of the wealth. As it will vanish automatically. So the purest and the best use of wealth is to give others, and giving of everything. Shloka says, Apurva Koshoyam Vidyate Tav Bharati, Vete Vriddhi Mayati Chhay Mayati Sanchayat. That Rishi is praying to Goddess Saraswati. Oh, Goddess Saraswati, your treasure is entirely different, is unique in nature. More we give, more it increases. More we save, more it diminishes. So, while giving, when we, you see, give the things, it is being, you see, distributed to so many persons. And because Indian society believes in a cooperative and in a community culture as such, in a group behavior as such. So, as a student of economics, if I want to say explain it, the marginal diminishing of marginal utility of money is more to the persons who have less. If you are having more, the marginal utility of per unit of money will be less. And if it is being distributed to those persons who have got lesser money, for them margin utility of each money will be many times more. The total utility of money would increase exponentially if it is distributed. जो आप कह रहे थे कि दान देने, when we give it, you see, we take, you see, food at our, you see, home, and everything is available. So we don't get so much attracted towards those things. But suppose that food is being shared to those persons who don't have sufficient food, they will enjoy, they will relish, they will give you, see, lot of, you see, appreciation. Also, they will bless you also. So one, if we take the economics as a whole, the total satisfaction of society increases many times more so if we just distribute. Or spiritually, when we give, we also grow automatically. Our souls, our hearts gets happiness, and we grow. We become more, you see, purified. We get is more sublime, and when we receive, you see, more blessings of those persons who are have nots or marginalized or subaltern in a society.
My last question in this series, since we're talking about festivals, I heard from Prabhupada speaking, giving an instruction to his temples, all these temples, that 50-mile radius around the temple, no one should go hungry. So, and that, he said that that's a Vedic instruction. So, do you have a quote on that? Where was this instruction quoted? And 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 if all the Hindu temples start doing that all over the world, we have almost 1 million plus Hindu temples all over the world, including India. So, do we have uh, that instruction where if everyone started following this, then the hunger problem will go away permanently in the world?
Actually, Aditya, number one, I don't subscribe to this propositions over solving the hunger problem as such.
Mm.
Because our culture believes in earning food ourselves. It is not merely sitting in a row and getting something in the hands being distributed by some say, big shot like that. No, it's a last resort as such. Because it is mentioned Uttam Kheti Madhyam Ban Nishit Chakri Bheek Nidan. It is a part of just like begging like that only. One is okay if all temples are following this particular proposition that during 15 kilometers radius, that will come about 15 square 125 kilometers, it will become automatically. Nobody should remain hungry. That's good, number one. So the immediate problem of this hunger will be solved. And I don't know, we see where has it come from, but this type of things are being celebrated everywhere, I'll tell you. In Gurdwara, you go from you see, morning breakfast, lunch, evening tea, and dinner. Langars are being you see given, distributed to all the person, irrespective of caste, creed, and color. Even mosque also you'll find so many things are being distributed by way of khairat as such. It's not a regular feature in mosque, but in Jain Dharma also, lot of in the name of aparigraha, you see, lot of things is being distributed. They distribute the clothes also along with you see the food like that. It is okay. It is just okay just to solve the immediate problem as such, but it cannot be treated as a permanent solution because Indian culture, India Vedas doesn't believe in this system because they believe in karma system as such. We believe that we should earn our you see, livelihood by our own purushartha. Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha are the Purushartha. From Purushartha, see, one should earn their livelihood. And if they have earned, you see, above the limit, they should distribute as such. And this proposition of just sitting in a row and getting something from the temple or mosque or gurdwara or temple, it's okay. It's for the time being, it's okay. But it cannot be taken as permanent solution of solving the problem of hunger.
Very well put, very well put, because some people, they believe that it will, it's better to teach someone how to earn their food than to give food, but both are necessary. Some people cannot be
Hold on.
capable of earning also, so for them it's important. The homelessness is increasing day by day in many cities of the USA. In fact, 30% of all Americans this holiday season will not be able to celebrate any festival because of COVID-19 and also the general economic disparity. Uh,
Yeah.
and for them it's important that somebody tries to help them, but for rest of the people it's not the solution, permanent solution is to enable everyone to have pride in earning their own food and also shelter. Now, that was my last question, so I'll end up here. But thank you so much, Professor Adrian Bajpai. It's always a pleasure, and your pleasing countenance helps
Before,
everyone.
yes, just a minute. I would like to congratulate you that I'm very happy, Aditya, that you have authored not one, not two, but six books. My all congratulations and good wishes from myself, from all the Indian scholars who believe in Indic studies. You have come out with the many tenets of Sathology. That I have seen some of them. They are reviews in Hindi are also being published in Hindi dailies. So my all congratulations, Aditya.
Thank you so much. My sakshat pranam to you, and thank you
Thank you.
because blessing from you is a great honor for me. And for other viewers who are watching this show and who could not join live, do watch. This is a special holiday season. It will be live on Friday evening for India, Saturday morning for India, and Friday evening for the US. So please do watch it and comment it over there, and join for the next discussion, which will be very same similar way, very attractive discussion with Professor Eden Bajpayee. Namaskar.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Aditya. Good night.